Can I ask why Israeli intelligence has been such a failure on this, especially when it's known that Hamas are literally right next door and this could have happened at any time?
I mean, I think that's the big question which the Israelis, but also I think I'll come back to later, ourselves need to be asking ourselves. This is, to put it absolutely in perspective, this is the most serious crisis in the Middle East since at least the Yom Kippur War. And if you think about that, that was also a massive intelligence failure. You could also perhaps add in 9/11 as three major intelligence failures, all emanating from the Middle East. So there's an issue there we need to address. Why did Israeli intelligence fail? It's hard to tell. And clearly, the next 3 to 4 months, they're going to be looking very hard at themselves and looking at what's gone wrong. One thing that has got to be taken into consideration is where the internal turmoil, the political turmoil that's been affecting Israel over the last year has also inflected their ability to analyse information. I'm sure they've got sources, and I'm sure they're using every means at their disposal to try and understand what Hamas are up to and their intent. But they clearly, at the top, they are disunited. And it may well be that element of disunity, of lack of unity, a lack of trust that's existed between various elements in the Israeli defence establishment has affected their ability to analyse what's going on. But that is the big question at the moment. And I mean, they want to know what's next. I mean, will, for example, Hezbollah attack from the north? Will Iran, who sponsors both Hezbollah and Hamas, also be planning something? So this is still a very live question. It's not just a matter of, if you like, after the fact historical analysis.
Interestingly, Simon, and thank you for joining us. You're right. Politically, over the last 12, 16 months in Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu in, out, a lot of criticism of his government, votes of confidence. And you're right. For me, you touched upon Hezbollah there and Iran. It's almost as if Hamas has done this under Israel's noses, but away. And you do look and you think which other countries could have been, supporting this action. But I think you're dead right. This is a massively, massively difficult time for the Middle East. Where do you think this goes? I mean, several politicians in this country and across the world standing up saying Hamas are fundamentally wrong. This is terrorist action. Those visions over the weekend, my friend, of a naked woman's body being paraded through wherever, children being taken. This takes it to another level, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, what's going on is horrific. I mean, just one very small example: the absolute shocking, shameful, and disgraceful episode of the killing of the young people at that rave. Over 200 young people, basically just enjoying themselves, appear to be murdered. That is vile. I mean, very sadly, in the wars in the Middle East, there are civilian casualties, and we've seen that. But to actually do those sort of things is disgusting. There's no possible way to explain, justify, or otherwise understand it except by saying absolutely disgusting, completely beyond the pale.
And Simon,
the reaction,
sorry, Simon. We know that. We know that a German woman, well, we don't know. We haven't had confirmation that she has died, but we know that her body was certainly taken through the streets of Israel. We know that a British man is missing, another confirmed dead. What does this mean for international relations with Germany and Great Britain?
Well, I mean, I think the reaction of the Prime Minister was exactly correct. He's condemned absolutely what's happened in Gaza and in southern Israel. Last night, as I understand it, the Israeli flag was projected onto number 10. That's exactly the right gesture to put forward at the moment. The Germans themselves are also looking very hard in terms of their intelligence and seeing what they can do to support Israel. So there are issues with wider relations. I mean, one of the things that was ongoing, which was a very positive step, was attempts to have some kind of agreement, some arrangement between Israel and Saudi Arabia, despite their very difficult history together, where they can cooperate on mutually important projects. That sadly looks like it's been on the back burner for a while. And this is going to be very hard for the Saudis to support publicly while this sort of war is going on. They should still be able to do this, but clearly, if you like, the optics in the Arab world will also be very difficult.
Simon, the argument has always been, ancestrally the rights to that land. And that's been the Jewish argument and the Palestinian argument. And this has been going on for many, many years. Whenever I read about this, I hear about this, and just briefly in layman's terms, two-state solution has always been put forward as the answer. What is that? What does that mean for our viewers and listeners this morning?
I mean, basically means that somehow they find a way to share the same land, whether it be by physically one bit occupying more than the other, where they have effectively perhaps almost like two separate jurisdictions ongoing in the same place, but some way of kind of recognising, as you rightly say, the historical links of both these peoples on the same bit of land and same bit of territory. There are variations on it. I'm not an expert on the variations of that, but essentially it's trying to find a way that they could have not just what they've got at the moment, which is the West Bank and Gaza under the Palestinian Authority, but also an actual proper state of Palestine that's there, but also some kind of recognition of if you like, the previous ownership of bits of what is currently Israel by the Palestinian people as well, because many Palestinians fled in 1947, and that's part of the difficulty. I think at the moment, honestly, the two-state solution, indeed, any kind of sensible conversations between the Palestinian peoples and the Israelis are probably on, again, a bit like the conversation about Saudi, on the back burner. And that's the really sad, and that's a disastrous, sad reality of what Hamas have done. Those peaceful conversations, which are difficult, they're really difficult, have been put on the back burner for we do not know how long at the moment, and we do not know yet what the scale and the shape of the Israeli response is likely to be. But given the number of deaths, given the numbers of innocent people who've been murdered and killed and humiliated, and the hostages, I think we can only expect nothing but a violent and justified Israeli reaction. That's not going to help the peace process.